Rain fell hard over the city, washing the streets in silver light. Sirens echoed in the distance as flashing red and blue lights filled the narrow block outside the downtown bank. The air was thick with tension. Every police officer moved fast but careful, because one wrong move could cost lives. Detective Ethan Cole stepped out of his car, his boots splashing in the puddles. He adjusted the headset in his ear and looked at the chaos around him. Years of experience told him this was going to be bad. Very bad. He walked toward the command van where Captain Reyes was already shouting orders. Inside the bank, dozens of terrified hostages sat on the floor, their hands tied, their faces pale with fear. Behind them, 3 masked men with rifles barked orders. One of them, tall, tense, and calm, was Marcus Hale, the leader. His voice was steady, but his eyes betrayed something deeper, not madness, but pain. The robbery had gone wrong within minutes. The silent alarm triggered too fast. Now the robbers were trapped, and Marcus knew there was no clean way out. He pressed his radio and spoke to the negotiator line, his voice crackling through the police headset. "Get me someone who knows how to talk, or people start dying," he said. Ethan took a slow breath. "This is Detective Ethan Cole. I'm here to help you." "Marcus," he said calmly into the microphone. A pause. Then a sharp laugh came back through the speakers. "Help me? You don't even know what I want yet," Marcus replied. Ethan walked closer to the building's entrance. His vest heavy, rain still falling on his shoulders. Through the glass doors he could see the hostages sitting in fear. He could also see one woman, Lena, her eyes steady, not panicked like the others. She was watching everything, noticing everything. Ethan spoke softly. "Marcus, I just want to make sure no one gets hurt. You and your people can walk out of here alive, but we need to talk." Marcus paced back and forth inside, his voice calm but sharp. "Talk is fine, but I want a helicopter. And I want it here in 30 minutes. Otherwise someone dies." The command center fell silent. Captain Reyes leaned toward Ethan, whispering, "Don't promise him anything. Buy time." Ethan nodded slightly, pressing the mic again. "All right, Marcus. I'll see what I can do. But let's make sure everyone inside is safe first. Can you show me the hostages?" Through the window, Marcus raised his gun and pointed toward the group. One of his men waved a camera, showing a live feed of scared faces. Lena sat among them, her hands shaking. Then she lifted her eyes toward Ethan, and for a split second, she tapped her fingers against her leg. 3 short taps. 1 long, 3 short again, Morse code. She was saying something. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. He recognized it instantly. SOS. She was sending a distress signal, but why? Everyone in there was already a hostage, unless she meant something else. Unless someone inside wasn't what they seemed. "Marcus," Ethan said, keeping his tone calm. "You're doing fine. No one needs to get hurt. Tell me what went wrong today. What made this happen?" Marcus paused. The line went quiet for a moment, his voice softened. "You wouldn't understand," he said quietly. "People like you never do." Ethan glanced toward the screen where surveillance cameras showed the bank interior. One of Marcus's men, shorter, wearing a black jacket, kept moving toward the back vault. Not following orders, he looked nervous, distracted. Something about him didn't fit. Captain Reyes leaned closer again. "That's our shot, Cole, if we get a clear view. We can take him out." Ethan shook his head. "No, too risky. There are hostages in the line of fire," Reyes growled. "Follow the rules, Cole. No cowboy moves." Ethan ignored him and kept talking. "Marcus, listen. I can help you get out of this alive. But I need to know who's calling the shots in there. Is it you or someone else?" Marcus's tone grew defensive. "I'm in charge here, not them me," he snapped. Then came a sudden sound at a gunshot inside the bank. Everyone outside flinched. Ethan froze, gripping his headset. "Marcus, what happened?" he shouted. A tense silence followed. Then Marcus's voice shaking slightly. "Nobody's dead, but the next one won't be so lucky unless you start listening." Ethan's pulse quickened. He looked through the window again. The injured hostage was being helped by Lena. Marcus shouting at his men. Things were spinning out of control. Reyes barked into the radio. "Cole, end this now. Take the shot if you can." But Ethan's instincts screamed something different. Something wasn't adding up. Marcus's anger felt forced, like he was hiding fear, not power. And the second gunman in the back was up to something worse. Lena looked toward the window again, and this time she mouthed 2 silent words that Ethan could barely read. "Not him." Ethan's breath caught. Not him, what did that mean? Was Marcus not the real threat? Or was she warning him not to shoot Marcus? The seconds ticked by like thunder, tension thick as fog. Every eye on Ethan waiting for his command. Marcus grabbed one hostage by the collar and pulled him to the front, pointing the gun at his head. "You've got 10 seconds, detective. Give me what I asked for or this man dies." Ethan's hand hovered over his radio, his mind racing. Follow protocol and stall, or take the shot and end it before more blood is spilled. 10 seconds, 9, 8, rain pounding, hostages crying. The sound of Marcus's heavy breathing filling the speakers. Ethan's finger tightened slightly on the trigger command. Reyes shouting orders in his ear, but Ethan wasn't listening anymore. He had a choice to make, the kind that changes everything. Follow the rules, or take the shot. The rain fell harder. Thunder rolled over the city and time ran out. Rain still poured as the echoes of tension filled the street outside the bank. Every officer stood frozen, waiting for a single command. Inside the command van, monitors flickered, capturing the faint movements inside the building, and Ethan Cole's heartbeat thundered in his ears. The 10 seconds had vanished, but the gunshot never came. Instead, Marcus shouted something. Dragging the hostage back into the corner, Ethan exhaled slowly. The choice he made would decide everything that happened next. He had refused to take the shot, breaking the chain of command. Captain Reyes slammed his fist on the table. "You had your chance, Cole," he growled, his voice cutting through the noise. "You were supposed to act." Ethan turned toward him, his voice low but steady. "If I had fired, someone else would have died. He's testing us." "Not trying to escape?" Reyes's eyes narrowed. "Or maybe you just froze, outside." The storm continued to rage. Lightning flashed across the sky. Ethan tuned out Reyes's anger and focused back on the radio. "Marcus, talk to me," he said, keeping his tone calm. "You don't want anyone dead, I know that." For a moment, no answer. Then Marcus spoke, his voice quieter this time. "You think you know me, detective, but you don't know what it's like to lose everything and be called a criminal for it." Ethan's instincts told him this wasn't just about money. He listened carefully. The background noise revealed the faint hum of machinery and coughing, maybe from one of the robbers. One of them was injured. He adjusted his headset. "Marcus, I can help you, but you need to trust me," Marcus laughed dryly. "Trust a cop? That's funny." Inside the bank, Lena watched Marcus pace the marble floor, his movement sharper, more desperate. The second gunman, Vince, kept glancing toward the back hallway, his hand trembling on the rifle. Something about him didn't match the rest. His eyes were cold, detached, not scared at all. Lena kept quiet. Pretending to comfort another hostage while observing, she whispered, "He's planning something," to the older man next to her. But no one dared respond. Outside, Reyes turned to his tactical unit. "Prepare breach sequence," he ordered. Ethan stepped forward fast. "No, you can't. There are still too many hostages. You'll cause chaos." Reyes glared. "You're off this case, Cole. I'm taking control," but Ethan stood firm. "You remove me and he'll sense it. He'll start shooting." Reyes hesitated. His pride clashing with logic, he finally nodded. 5 minutes, Cole. Then I'm done waiting." Ethan returned to his microphone. "Marcus, tell me what you want the helicopter for." Marcus replied quickly. "To leave, what else?" Ethan pressed. "Leave to where, Marcus? You can't outrun every cop in the city, so what's really going on?" Silence. Then Marcus muttered, "They took everything from me. My team, my brother. They said it was an accident, but it wasn't." "The people behind those walls know what they did," Ethan frowned. "What people?" But Marcus didn't answer. His breathing grew heavier. Through the glass, Ethan saw Lena again. She looked straight at him and shook her head slowly, then pointed toward the back hallway, where Vince had disappeared moments earlier. "Reyes," Ethan said quickly, "get me camera feed number 6. The vault hallway. The screen flickered, showing Vince dragging a black duffel bag, not filled with money but with wires and metallic shapes. Ethan's stomach turned. "He's planting something," he said sharply. Reyes leaned closer, eyes widening. "A bomb?" "Maybe," Ethan whispered, "and Marcus doesn't know." Back inside, Marcus was shouting orders at his men, trying to keep control. He looked tired, his voice cracking. "Nobody moves until I say so." Lena took the chance to crawl closer to the broken security mirror near the door, whispering into the small microphone inside. "One of them is setting up explosives. He's not following Marcus's orders." The message reached Ethan's headset faintly. Confirming his worst fear, Ethan turned to Reyes. "If we breach now, that bomb could go off," Reyes snapped. "And if we wait, They might kill everyone inside, make a call. Detective, Ethan's pulse raced. He faced the microphone again. Marcus, listen to me carefully. One of your men is betraying you. Look near the back hallway. Marcus froze. Confused, what are you talking about? Vince, Ethan said firmly. He's not on your side. Marcus turned fast, shouting, Vince, what the hell are you doing? Vince lifted his gun instantly, firing a warning shot. Panic spread among the hostages. People screamed. Marcus fired back. Chaos exploded inside, outside. The monitors went wild. Ethan shouted, Hold your fire. But Reyes ignored him, yelling, SWAT, go, go, go. Gunfire erupted. Smoke filled the street. The sound of shattering glass and explosions tore through the rain. Ethan ran forward, ignoring orders. Pushing past the barricade, Stop shooting. There are still hostages in there, he yelled, his voice lost in the storm of bullets inside. Marcus had taken cover behind a marble pillar. Yelling to the hostages to stay down, Lena crawled across the floor, dragging the injured man toward safety. Her face pale but her eyes steady. Ethan burst through the broken door, the air thick with dust and gunpowder. He aimed his gun but hesitated. Seeing Marcus aiming not at him but at Vince, Marcus shouted, He's the traitor. He's the one you want. Vince turned his weapon toward Ethan. You shouldn't have come in here, he hissed. A gunshot rang out, then silence. The smoke cleared slowly. Vince was down, Marcus breathing heavily, his hands shaking as he dropped the weapon. Ethan's headset buzzed, Reyes shouting, Cole, report. What happened? Ethan stared at Marcus, both men exhausted, both knowing the line had been crossed forever. I broke every rule, Ethan whispered to himself, lowering his gun. But I saved them. Marcus looked at him with tired eyes and said quietly, You think you saved them, detective, but you just opened a war you don't understand. Outside, the rain kept falling, washing the blood off the steps, and the sirens wailed again. Ethan stood in the doorway, the weight of his choice pressing heavy on his shoulders. He had crossed the line and there was no going back. Smoke drifted through the broken glass doors as the echoes of gunfire faded. The air smelled of gunpowder and fear. The flashing police lights outside painted the walls in red and blue. Ethan Cole stood among the chaos. His heart heavy, he had broken every rule, but the hostages were alive. Captain Reyes stormed in behind him, shouting, What the hell was that, Cole? You disobeyed a direct order. Ethan didn't answer. His eyes were locked on Marcus Hale, the man who had started it all, sitting handcuffed near a shattered desk, his face covered in dust. His expression strangely calm. Vince lay still nearby. His gun kicked away. The medics rushed in, checking the hostages. Lena sat against the wall, her breathing fast. Her eyes locked on Ethan as if trying to tell him something without words. Reyes grabbed Ethan's shoulder. You're finished, Cole. You just cost this department a clean operation. Ethan turned slowly, his voice quiet but firm. I saved lives, Captain. Your breach order almost got everyone killed, Reyes glared. You're lucky I don't arrest you myself. Then turned toward his men, barking orders again as the officers cleared the room. Ethan walked toward Marcus, crouching beside him. You had a choice, Marcus. You could have walked out differently. Marcus looked up, his eyes tired but sharp. You think this was about money? Detective, he said, his tone almost mocking. I was trying to expose something, but your people made sure I never got the chance. Ethan frowned. Expose what? Marcus smirked. Ask your captain. He knows. Before Ethan could reply, Reyes shouted from across the room. Get him in the van. Now Marcus was dragged away by two officers, leaving Ethan staring after him, confusion swirling in his mind. Outside, the crowd of reporters had gathered, their cameras flashing, shouting questions. Detective Cole, why did you break orders? Were there illegal actions inside? Ethan ignored them all, walking toward the command van, rain still falling on his jacket inside the van. He studied the recovered evidence, the duffel bag Vince had been carrying. It wasn't filled with cash, but with strange military-grade devices and encrypted drives, something that didn't belong in a simple robbery. He turned to the tech officer. What's on those drives? The officer shook his head. We haven't cracked the encryption yet, but whatever it is, it's classified level security. Ethan leaned back, uneasy. Marcus wasn't lying then, he whispered. Hours later, the hostages were escorted out. Lena was among the last, her face pale but determined. When she saw Ethan, she stopped. Detective, she said softly. Marcus wasn't trying to kill anyone, he wanted someone to listen. Ethan studied her face. You knew him. She hesitated. Not exactly. But my father served in the same unit as his brother. Years ago, something happened during that mission, and they covered it up. Ethan's pulse quickened. And your father? He disappeared, she said quietly. Just like Marcus's brother. Before Ethan could say more, Reyes approached, his expression cold. You're off the case, Cole. Internal Affairs wants to talk. You're suspended effective immediately. Ethan stared at him. Suspended for saving lives, Reyes replied. For insubordination and interfering with federal matters, then walked away. Ethan felt a deep chill, not from the rain, but from the silence that followed. Something about Reyes's tone felt rehearsed, controlled, as if he was hiding something. Later that night, Ethan sat in his small apartment, the city lights glowing through the rain-soaked window. He replayed the audio logs from the bank. Every word Marcus said, every sound in the background. He noticed a faint mechanical hum, rhythmic, like the sound of data transfer, maybe from a hidden server. He opened his laptop and scanned the files he had secretly copied before leaving the station. The encryption was impossible to crack, but one file name stood out, Operation Halo. He typed it into the police archive system, but the screen flashed access denied. His phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. It read, You're looking in the wrong place. Detective, and followed by a photo. Marcus, sitting in the interrogation room, beaten, bruised, and unconscious. Ethan grabbed his jacket and rushed out, rain pounding against the streets as he drove toward headquarters. But when he arrived, Marcus was gone. The officers on duty looked confused. We were told federal agents took him, one of them said. Who authorized it? Ethan asked sharply. The officer hesitated. Captain Reyes. Ethan clenched his jaw. Realizing the pattern, Marcus had been right. Reyes was part of something deeper, something that started long before the bank. He went to see Lena, who was staying under police protection. She opened the door, surprised. You shouldn't be here, she whispered. I need answers, Ethan said. What happened to your father's unit? She looked down. They were ordered to destroy evidence of illegal testing, something involving soldiers, enhancements, and memory suppression. My father refused, and then he vanished. Ethan felt the weight of the puzzle pieces falling into place. Marcus wasn't trying to rob the bank. He was trying to retrieve the files from that operation. Lena nodded. The same files his brother died for. Outside, a car engine roared to life. Lights flashed through the curtains. Lena looked frightened. They're watching, she whispered. Ethan grabbed her arm. We have to move. As they ran through the back alley, Ethan's phone buzzed again, a voice message this time. It was Marcus's voice, weak and distorted. They're not who you think, Cole. Reyes works for them. Don't trust anyone. A loud crash echoed behind them, a black van pulling into the alley. Masked men stepping out. Ethan drew his gun, shielding Lena behind him. Rain falling harder. The headlights blinding. He shouted, Who are you? But the only answer was the click of rifles being loaded. Lena whispered, They're not police. Ethan tightened his grip on his weapon. Heart pounding, he realized this was no longer about duty. This was survival, and in the shadows of the city, the real war was just beginning. Rain poured down in sheets as Ethan, Cole, and Lena ran through the narrow alleyways, their footsteps splashing through puddles. The black van's headlights chased them like hungry eyes. Bullets tore through the air, smashing into brick walls, sparks flying. Ethan grabbed Lena's hand, pulling her behind a dumpster for cover. Stay down, he whispered, his breath sharp and heavy. The gunfire stopped for a moment, replaced by the sound of boots on wet pavement. The masked men were moving closer, slow, precise, like predators. Lena's voice trembled. Who are they? Ethan shook his head. Not cops, not criminals either. There's something in between. He peeked around the corner, counting 3 figures closing in, their movements disciplined, military style. One of them raised a silenced rifle. Ethan fired first, his shot hitting a metal pipe, steam bursting into the air. Covering their escape, he grabbed Lena again. Move! They ran until they reached the edge of the district, where an old train station stood abandoned. Ethan kicked the side door open, leading her inside. The place was dark and smelled of rust and rainwater. He leaned against a wall, breathing hard, trying to think. Lena looked at him, her face pale but determined. They took Marcus, didn't they? Ethan nodded. Reyes ordered it, said federal agents would handle him. But those weren't agents, they were part of whatever Marcus was trying to expose. Lena clenched her fists. My father used to say the truth hides behind the loudest lies. Ethan gave a faint smile. He was right. He pulled out his phone, opening the encrypted file again. Still locked, the name Operation Halo flashing on the screen. This thing's the key, he muttered. Marcus risked everything for it. A low voice came from the shadows. And now you will too. Ethan spun around, gun raised. A figure stepped into the dim light, Marcus Hale, alive. His face bruised but defiant. His wrists marked from restraints. Lena gasped. Marcus, how? He cut her off. They tried to move me, but I escaped before they reached the base. Had help from an old friend. Ethan lowered his weapon slowly. You could have run, why come back? Marcus looked at him with cold eyes. Because I started this and I'm ending it. He pointed to Ethan's phone. You found the file, didn't you? Ethan nodded. I did, but it's locked tighter than government archives. Marcus stepped closer. That's because it is government. Operation Halo was a covert experiment to create enhanced soldiers. But it went wrong. They erased memories, rewired loyalty, turned people into weapons. My brother was one of them. Lena's eyes widened. My father too. Marcus nodded sadly. They used both of them when the experiment failed. They covered it up and killed everyone who knew. Ethan looked between them, realization dawning. And Reyes was part of it. Marcus gave a bitter laugh. Reyes wasn't just part of it, he commanded the cleanup team. The room fell silent except for the soft drip of rain from the roof. Ethan's pulse quickened. If that's true, we can prove it with the data. Marcus shook his head. You don't get it, Cole. There's no proving. These people don't go to court. They rewrite history if we don't destroy that data. They'll use it again. Ethan's jaw tightened. So you want to destroy evidence that could expose them? Marcus's voice grew sharp. If it falls into the wrong hands, they'll restart the project. Millions could die before Ethan could answer. A loud metallic crash echoed from the entrance. Flashlights cut through the darkness. Reyes's voice boomed. Cole, step away from him. You're under arrest. Ethan froze. Marcus grabbed his arm, whispering, You have to choose now. Either trust me or trust them. Reyes stepped inside with armed officers, his face stern but strangely calm. Ethan, this man is manipulating you. He's a terrorist. He killed soldiers and civilians, Marcus shouted back. You killed them, Reyes. You ordered the burn. Reyes ignored him. Focusing on Ethan, hand over the drive, detective. That's an order. Ethan hesitated, every instinct pulling him in two directions. The rules he had lived by and the truth screaming in his gut. Lena whispered, Ethan, he's lying. I saw the files. Marcus is telling the truth. Reyes raised his weapon. You've got 3 seconds, Marcus whispered again. If you give it to him, it's over. Time slowed. Ethan's hands trembled as he looked between them. Reyes's cold authority and Marcus's desperate conviction. Both men believing they were right, both dangerous then. Without warning, a gunshot echoed. Glass shattered, chaos erupted. One of Reyes's men fell, the others fired back. Ethan pulled Lena behind the pillar, returning fire, shouting, Stop! Stop shooting. But no one listened. Smoke filled the station, bullets tearing through the wooden beams. Marcus crawled toward the control panel near the wall, shouting, We have to blow the fuse, it'll block their signals. Ethan shouted back, You'll bring the whole place down. Marcus grinned grimly. Better rubble than silence, he slammed his hand down. Sparks exploded, the lights flickered out. The station plunged into darkness, silence followed, broken only by the rain and heavy breathing. When the emergency lights came back on, Reyes and his men were gone, vanished into the storm. Marcus lay wounded but alive. Lena knelt beside him, tears in her eyes. Ethan pressed a hand against Marcus's shoulder. We're not done yet, Marcus whispered weakly. You crossed the line, Cole. Now you can't go back. Ethan looked at the faint glow of the drive still in his hand, the weight of truth burning against his palm. He had defied every order, broken every law, and now he stood in the middle of a war he barely understood. Outside, sirens wailed again, backup arriving too late. The rain washing away the blood from the floor. Ethan stared into the storm and whispered, If the system's broken, maybe breaking it is the only way to fix it. And that was the moment he stopped being a negotiator and became something else entirely. The rain had stopped, but the city smelled of wet asphalt and danger. Ethan Cole crouched behind a rusted fence, surveying the abandoned industrial complex where Marcus Hale was reportedly held. His eyes narrowed against the shadows. every instinct screaming that this was no ordinary rescue. Lena's hand brushed against his arm. "Are you sure about this?" she whispered. Her voice trembling slightly, Ethan nodded. "There's no waiting. They'll move him if we hesitate." "I can't let them." She hesitated, then followed silently, trusting him despite the fear in her eyes. The complex loomed ahead. Metal walls scarred by rust and graffiti, broken windows like black eyes watching them. Ethan pressed a small flashlight into his palm. Scanning the perimeter, every shadow seemed alive. Every sound echoed like a warning. Inside, Marcus sat on the floor, bruised but alert. His hands cuffed to a steel pipe, eyes blazing with determination. "You shouldn't have come alone, Cole," he said quietly. Ethan crouched beside him. "I had no choice. They're moving you again, and I won't let them." Outside, faint footsteps echoed. Rifles clicked. Ethan's heart pounded as he counted 3 guards patrolling the perimeter, their movements deliberate, almost mechanical. Lena peeked from behind a pillar, whispering, "They're professionals, not just hired guns." Ethan nodded. "Exactly why we can't wait." He pulled out a small device from his jacket, a signal jammer Marcus had given him earlier. "This will buy us a few minutes." "Disable their communications," Marcus smirked. "Careful, one wrong move and it'll trigger alarms. Taking out hostages or yourself." Ethan activated it. The faint hum filling the air, the guards froze. Radios crackling, then went silent, the tension thick. Ethan motioned for Lena and Marcus to follow. They moved like shadows, silent and precise. In a back hallway, Marcus whispered, "There's a server room up ahead. It contains files from Operation Halo. The same project they erased if we retrieve it. We can expose the truth," Ethan frowned. "And if we don't, Reyes and his people will continue their plans." Marcus nodded grimly. "Exactly." As they approached the server room, a faint light flickered under the door. Ethan pressed himself against the wall. Listening, 2 guards spoke in low tones. One mentioned a black van and encrypted drives, confirming Marcus's suspicions. Ethan whispered, "We can't take them head on. We need distraction." Lena looked around quickly, spotting a loose pipe on the floor. She kicked it toward a stack of crates, creating a loud clang. The guards turned instantly, and Ethan, Marcus, and Lena slipped past unnoticed. The server room door was locked, a small keypad blinking red. Marcus bent down. "Give me a second. I know this code." Ethan glanced nervously at the hall, footsteps approaching. Vince's men, not federal, not police, but mercenaries, and were closing in. "Faster," Ethan muttered, heart racing. Marcus's fingers flew over the keypad, and with a soft click, the door unlocked. They slipped inside. The room smelled of heat and electronics, servers humming, monitors flickering. Marcus moved to the main terminal, Lena beside him, Ethan covering the entrance. He plugged in the encrypted drive, watching the screen as lines of code filled the monitor. Marcus typed rapidly, decrypting files that contained names, operations, and locations of hidden experiments, every line revealing secrets that should never have existed. Suddenly, a loud metallic click echoed behind them. Ethan spun, gun raised. But it was too late. The door slammed shut. Vince stepped inside, smirking. "Going somewhere." "Detective." Ethan raised his gun, heart hammering. "Step away from them," Vince laughed. Cold and harsh. "I don't think you understand. You're outnumbered, outgunned, and outplayed." Marcus glanced at Ethan, whispering, "Get Lena out. I'll hold him off." Ethan shook his head. "No. We do this together." Vince raised his rifle. Aiming, decision time. In a heartbeat, Ethan made his choice, lunging toward Vince. Throwing him off balance, Lena grabbed a fire extinguisher from the corner, smashing it against the wall, sending sparks and smoke filling the room. In the chaos, Marcus yanked the drive from the terminal, tucking it safely into his jacket, the hum of the servers masking their movements. Ethan tackled Vince to the ground, the two rolling across the floor as Lena slammed the door shut. Jamming it with a heavy chair, they ran down the hall, the sound of alarms starting to blare now. Ethan yelled, "Go now!" They burst through a side exit into the pouring rain, sprinting across the wet pavement toward a deserted street. The black van still in the distance, headlights scanning but slowed by the jammer. Marcus stopped briefly, gasping. "We did it, but they'll come for us harder now." Ethan looked at him, rain dripping down his face. "Then we make sure they don't win." Lena nodded, holding the drive tightly. "We can't let this end here." A car engine roared behind them, Reyes stepping out. Gun raised, his face stern. "Cole, step away." That drive belongs to the government. Ethan squared his shoulders. No, it belongs to the truth. Reyes's eyes flashed with anger. You don't understand what you're risking. This isn't a game. Ethan raised his voice. It's not your choice anymore, Captain. It's mine, Lena stepped forward, standing beside Ethan and Marcus, defiant. We're not leaving anyone behind, we're exposing the lies. Reyes hesitated, calculating, his hand twitching over the trigger, then slowly lowered it, stepping back. You'll regret this, Cole. Mark my words. Ethan glanced at Marcus, who nodded. We've crossed the line, but now it's their turn to worry. The rain poured harder. Washing away the footprints of the chase, the city lights flickered in the distance, and the three of them disappeared into the shadows, carrying secrets that could destroy lives and uncover the truth. The rogue mission had begun, and there was no turning back. The city slept under a heavy blanket of rain, but for Ethan Cole there was no rest. He moved cautiously through the abandoned warehouse district, Marcus Hale beside him, Lena holding the encrypted drive tightly, each of them silent, listening to the soft rhythm of distant traffic. The streets were empty, but shadows clung to the walls. Every corner a potential threat. Ethan's mind raced. He replayed every word Marcus had said, every warning about Operation Halo and Captain Reyes. The deeper they dug, the darker the truth became. We can't go back now. Marcus whispered, his voice low but steady. Reyes is part of a network that will do anything to protect this project. And they have eyes everywhere. Ethan nodded. Then we go straight to the source. We expose them before they strike again. Lena's hands shook slightly. And if they come for us, Marcus smiled faintly, then we make them regret it. They entered an abandoned high-rise, a safe house Marcus had used during his investigation. Inside, monitors and scattered files covered tables, maps marked with red circles, photographs of people who had vanished years ago, and documents labeled Operation Halo. Ethan's pulse quickened, the reality of the conspiracy heavier than he imagined. Ethan opened the encrypted drive on a nearby laptop. Marcus typed rapidly, bypassing layers of security, the screen filled with classified reports, mission logs, and personal files of soldiers who had undergone the experiments, including Lena's father and Marcus's brother. Lena gasped, pointing to a file. This is my father. Ethan scanned the records, horror growing. They erased his memory, rewired his loyalty, turned him into a weapon. Just like Marcus said. Marcus leaned back, rubbing his bruised face. Reyes and his network didn't just cover up the failures. They created new soldiers loyal only to them, ready to obey without question, killing anyone who gets in their way. Ethan shook his head. All the hostage situations, the black vans, the attempts on your life. It was all part of their plan to keep these secrets safe. Lena's eyes filled with tears. My father, Marcus's brother, all victims of lies. Suddenly, a sound echoed outside, heavy boots on concrete. A shadow flickered through the broken window. Ethan's hand went to his gun. Marcus grabbed a metal pipe. Lena ducked behind the table. Reyes stepped inside, his expression calm but eyes filled with menace. Cole, Marcus, I should have expected this. Trying to play hero won't save anyone. Ethan stood slowly, holding the laptop. We know everything. Reyes, Operation Halo, the experiments, the cover-ups. It's all out now. Reyes's face twisted. You think a single drive will destroy what we built, Marcus spat. You call this building your empire, but it's built on lies and blood. Reyes moved closer, voice sharp. You'll regret crossing me. Ethan kept his stance firm. The truth doesn't belong to you anymore. Captain? A sudden movement caught Ethan's eye. A hidden door creaked open and men in black tactical gear poured in. Weapons aimed at Marcus and Ethan. Reyes smirked. I have backup. The real authority here, Lena whispered. They're not letting anyone leave with the evidence. Ethan's mind raced. Marcus, we need a plan. We can't take them head on. Marcus nodded, scanning the room. There's a ventilation shaft in the back. Just big enough to get us out and keep the drive safe. Ethan grabbed Lena's hand. Move fast, no hesitation. They crawled through the narrow metal shaft, rainwater dripping from above, their breath loud in the confined space. Behind them, the sound of pursuit grew, gunfire pinging against the metal walls. They emerged onto a rooftop, the city lights sprawling below. Ethan's eyes caught movement. A helicopter above, searchlights scanning. Reyes's voice crackled through a radio. You won't escape, Cole. The world will never know the truth. Marcus held the drive tightly, Let them think that we have what matters. The truth will reach the right hands, Ethan nodded. Then we finish this. Suddenly, Lena spotted movement in the shadows. Federal agents. Dressed in black, silently surrounding the rooftop. Rifles trained on them. Ethan's pulse raced. Not again. They're trying to take it from us, Marcus whispered. Trust me, we only have one chance. In a split second, Marcus activated a signal on the drive, sending an encrypted transmission to several journalists and trusted whistleblowers. The data spreading across secure networks. Impossible to erase, Reyes shouted through the radio. Stop them now, but it was too late. The information was out. Operation Halo exposed to the world. The agents hesitated, some lowering their weapons, others struggling with orders. Chaos rippling through the rooftop. Ethan pointed at them. We don't have time to fight. We run! They sprinted toward the edge, jumping onto a fire escape. The city lights reflecting off wet metal. Hearts pounding with adrenaline. On the street below, a black van arrived. Tires skidding in the rain. Reyes standing on the edge of the rooftop, yelling, "This isn't over, Cole, you've only made enemies." Ethan didn't look back, his eyes fixed on the horizon. Marcus and Lena beside him, the drive safe, the truth unmasked. Lena breathed heavily. It's done, isn't it? Ethan nodded. For now, but the real battle is just beginning. Exposing them means they'll come after us. Harder and smarter. Marcus smiled faintly. We started the fire, now let it burn. The world needs to see the lies. The rain finally eased, the clouds breaking into the first light of dawn. Ethan looked at the city, knowing that everything had changed. The lines between right and wrong blurred forever, he whispered to himself. We crossed every line to reach the truth, and there's no turning back. And in the shadows, somewhere Reyes was already planning his next move. The war over truth and deception far from over. The city lay quiet under the early morning fog, rain-drenched streets reflecting the glow of streetlights. Ethan Cole, Marcus Hale, and Lena moved cautiously through the empty alleyways, their breaths visible in the cold air, tension pressing on every step. The encrypted drive was safe in Marcus's jacket, but the weight of its secrets felt heavier than any weapon. Every name, every file, every secret they carried could topple careers, destroy lives, or start wars, and they knew the enemies they had made would not wait. Ethan scanned the horizon. We need to reach a secure location, somewhere they can't trace us. Marcus nodded. There's one place, an abandoned data hub outside the city. I set it up years ago, completely offline. No cameras, no guards, perfect for decrypting and sending the files. Lena hesitated. And if Reyes finds us before we reach it? Ethan tightened his jaw. Then we fight, there's no turning back. They moved quickly, the fog thickening, hiding their movements but also masking threats. Every shadow could be a sniper, every sound a trap. Marcus led the way, scanning rooftops and side streets, his experience evident in every step. Suddenly, Ethan froze, headlights cutting through the mist, a black SUV blocking the alley ahead. Reyes stepped out, flanked by heavily armed men, his face stern, eyes cold. Cole, you could have stopped this, handed over the drive, and no one had to die. Ethan's hands tightened around the handle of his gun. You chose the lies, Reyes, now it ends here. Reyes smiled faintly. You still don't understand. The rules I follow protect the world. You're just a pawn in a bigger game. Marcus stepped forward. No, Captain, the world doesn't need weapons made from lies and fear. It needs truth. Lena stood beside Ethan, holding the drive tightly. You can't erase what's already out there. People will see the truth. Reyes's hand twitched toward his holster. And Ethan's instincts screamed. Time slowed. Every second stretched into eternity. The choice hung in the air. Follow protocol and risk letting Reyes destroy the drive, or take the shot and break every law they had sworn to obey. Before Ethan could react, a sudden explosion rocked a nearby building. Debris raining down, Reyes's men staggered. Caught off guard, Marcus yelled, "Now!" Ethan and Marcus sprinted toward the SUV, taking cover behind concrete barriers. Lena ran beside them, rain soaking her hair. Bullets pinging against metal, Ethan fired carefully, aiming to disable tires and weapons, keeping the fight precise, focused, avoiding killing if he could. Reyes shouted orders, trying to regroup, but Marcus had already planned an escape route. A narrow underground tunnel leading toward the data hub. They dove into the tunnel, water flooding the edges. Breathing heavy, hearts pounding, Ethan glanced at Marcus. You sure this leads to safety? Marcus nodded. It's the only place we can decrypt without interference, and no one can trace it. Hours passed inside the cold, damp tunnel, every sound echoing like thunder. Lena kept checking the drive. Marcus set up the decryption equipment, and Ethan stayed alert, scanning for any signs of pursuit. Finally, the files decrypted, the screen glowing with the truth of Operation Halo. Names, missions, locations, and secret experiments. Ethan exhaled slowly. The weight of the conspiracy now visible. Undeniable, Lena whispered. It's all here. The world will see it. Marcus nodded, eyes tired but resolute. We expose this, and we take the first step toward justice, but we need a plan for after. They won't forgive us. Ethan pressed a key, transmitting the data to secure journalists, whistleblowers, and international watchdogs. The files spreading across encrypted networks faster than any government could intercept. Reyes's face appeared on a hacked live feed, his voice booming through monitors. You think this changes anything? You're meddling in forces you don't understand. Ethan didn't respond, focused on ensuring the drive's data reached the right hands. Minutes passed, tension thick as fog. Finally, Lena whispered, It's done. The truth is out. Marcus smiled faintly. We did it, but they'll come for us. Harder and smarter. Ethan glanced at them both, knowing the fight was far from over. But a step had been taken, a line crossed that could never be uncrossed suddenly. Reyes's voice came through the tunnel speakers, calm but lethal. Cole, one final choice, hand over the drive or I take it by force. And everyone you care about dies. Ethan felt the weight of the decision, every rule, every law, every moral line pressing on him. He glanced at Marcus, then Lena, both waiting, trusting him, and he realized that the choice was no longer just about the law. It was about survival and truth. Ethan pressed his finger against the confirmation key on the final transmission, sending one last copy of the drive into the public domain, encrypted, safe, irreversible. Reyes's shout echoed through the tunnel. No, Ethan whispered. The choice is made. Outside, the city began to wake, unaware of the storm that had passed. The conspiracy revealed, but the hunters still searching. Marcus looked at Ethan. We crossed every line, broke every rule, and yet we did the right thing, Lena smiled faintly, holding the drive. For once the truth wins. Ethan took a deep breath, staring at the rising sun over the skyline, knowing that tomorrow, Reyes and his network would strike again, that choices would have to be made, lines crossed again. But for now, they had survived. They had won the first battle, and the world would know the truth. And in that quiet moment, Ethan understood. Every choice leads to another, and the cycle of action and consequence never ends.